Do you remember the first time you realized how small your efforts can feel compared to the world around you? The late nights, the overtime, the constant worry, and the quiet sense that no matter what you do, it might never be enough. If you're someone who cares too much, you know this feeling intimately. Every decision, every dollar, every sacrifice carries weight, not just for you, but for everyone you feel responsible for. And when it comes to money, that weight can feel crushing. But here's a subtle, almost invisible truth. Hitting $100,000 in savings or investments is not just a number, it's a psychological milestone. A third of the way to $1 million, yes, but more importantly, a third of the way to a mindset that transforms how you relate to security, responsibility, and yourself. The surprising math isn't just arithmetic, it's behavioral. To someone who overcares, $100,000 feels like a paradox. On one hand, it's massive, proof that your discipline, your foresight, your persistence are tangible. On the other, it's so far from the mythical $1 million mark that anxiety whispers, is this enough? Will it ever be enough? Neuroscience tells us that scarcity, real or perceived, triggers the amygdala, the part of your brain wired for fear and urgency. Every unexpected expense, every imagined what-if sets off a chain reaction of stress hormones, making your careful math feel meaningless. Yet when you step back and see that $100,000 is literally one-third of your goal, it reframes the story. The brain begins to recognize progress, not just pressure. The number becomes a signal of momentum rather than a reminder of insufficiency. Psychologically, this milestone illuminates patterns of care. People who overgive often equate financial responsibility with moral responsibility, believing that every dollar spent, every decision made, must shield someone else from harm. You've probably spent years stretching yourself thin, worrying about bills, emergencies, family needs, friend obligations, and even co-workers, as though each one were your burden to bear. Reaching $100,000 quietly challenges that narrative. It shows that you can care for yourself while still caring for others. It proves that foresight and patience matter more than constant overextension. And that is a subtle, almost cinematic shift in consciousness, the realization that security is a tool, not a proof of worth. There's a strange vulnerability that comes with this realization. On one hand, the number frees you. Suddenly, the mistakes you feared don't feel fatal. The emergencies you've anticipated don't loom as large. On the other hand, it exposes the internalized pressure that built the very system that got you here. You may notice how your mind still races with what-ifs, how your heart tightens at small financial uncertainties, how you continue to overplan, overcheck, overthink. Behavioral science calls this the cycle of hyper-responsibility. Your nervous system has been trained for constant vigilance, and it doesn't immediately relax just because you've reached a milestone. The awareness itself is a gift, though it's the first step in learning to care differently, not less, but smarter. The healthy side of this milestone is profound. $100,000 allows you to take risks that were impossible before. You can invest, experiment, and explore opportunities without the paralyzing fear that comes from having nothing to fall back on. It lets you set boundaries with more confidence because you know your survival is not contingent on pleasing everyone. You can pause before acting, rather than reacting to the endless pull of obligation. Neuroscience calls this cognitive load reduction. By reducing the mental strain of survival anxiety, your executive function strengthens, enabling better decisions and a more intentional life. Your care transforms from compulsion to strategy, but there's also a cautionary shadow. The mind of someone who cares too much can interpret milestones as reasons to overcompensate. I must invest more, give more, save more, protect more, even when the number is already significant. Overgiving and overplanning can return with a vengeance. This is the subtle trap. Progress can trigger a new form of stress if you measure worth solely by effort or outcomes. The lesson here is quiet, almost poetic. Milestones are not just measures of achievement, they are invitations to recalibrate your relationship with care, money, and self-trust. The cinematic beauty of reaching $100,000 is not in the number itself, it's in the reflection it enables. It lets you see that years of tension, anxiety, and overcaring were not wasted. They were preparatory. The sleepless nights, the financial decisions made under stress, the constant weighing of responsibilities built the capacity to reach this milestone. And now, you can use that same energy differently. You can choose where to direct care, how to spend attention, and which responsibilities truly require your presence. The number is not a trophy, it's a lens through which to view yourself more clearly. Emotionally, the milestone brings a quiet, deep realization. Care without clarity is exhausting, but care with foresight is powerful. $100,000 is a threshold that whispers to the nervous system, you are capable, you have momentum, you can afford to pause without catastrophe. And in that pause, the mind begins to breathe, to reflect, to imagine not just survival, but life on your terms. It's the first step towards seeing care not as obligation, but as choice, not as exhaustion, but as alignment. And here's the ultimate truth for those who care too much. Wealth milestones are not just financial, they are psychological. $100,000 isn't merely money. It's proof that discipline, foresight, and emotional resilience compound over time. It's a demonstration that you can manage responsibility without letting it consume you. It's a signal that you are learning to care for yourself as intentionally as you care for others. The number is 1/3 of a million. Yes, but it's more importantly 1/3 of the journey to freedom from anxiety-driven overextension. So tonight, as you reflect quietly, ask yourself this: what would change if you viewed $100,000 not as a halfway mark or a temporary reprieve, but as a signal of your capacity to care wisely, to plan intentionally, and to act with confidence? What if milestones weren't proof of worth, but signposts of growth, both financial and psychological? Because the truth is subtle and it's profoundly liberating. The real power of reaching $100,000 is not the money itself, it's the clarity it gives you to care deeply, without losing yourself along the way.